in this field or this niche, I guess, I can say that I feel like I have, undoubtedly saved careers. I have altered people's lives in positive ways and maybe even changed the trajectory of people's lives. I put
Mm-hmm.
people in their dream jobs in some cases. And you really can't say that at the D1 or professional level in sports, right? Maybe you can say it like the high school level, like you make a really hot, like big impact on a kid's life or whatever. But I think this setting is very rewarding if you put the work in and if you make those connections and if you're a people person and you really care about your athletes,
Team, welcome back to another week of Mops and Mo's.
Not really, though.
I was going to say, although not really. It's more of a tag team, mutual...
Little crossover episode situation.
Little crossover episode. Before we kick into the details, though, you just got back from North Carolina.
We did. We were in the same state for a few days.
Didn't link up.
Drew did not care enough to come see me in Wilmington.
Didn't want to drive my 4-year-old 3 hours.
He has valid excuses for that.
To the beach. Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty fun weekend. Noteworthy observations on North Carolina. We went out to a brunch place. Coastal North Carolina, not very into vegetables. I think like all the meals came out and there wasn't like a vegetable between them unless you counted potatoes.
That's pretty fair. Well.
Maybe it was our choice of restaurant, but I think it was also just the vibe of North Carolina.
Fried?
I think there was definitely fried stuff involved for sure.
Hell yeah.
Some delicious fried chicken. Oh yeah. But
you went to the coast and got fried chicken?
It was this brunch place and it was really, really good.
Did you get fried shrimp?
I should give him a shout out, but I can't remember the name. We had seafood in other situations. That was just the most memorable meal, I think. Good. But shortly after, like immediately after arriving, we like land, grab some groceries, go to the Airbnb. Then we're like going to walk into like the area where there's like restaurants and shops and stuff. And I don't know why the like sandy foresty vibes reminded me of my experience with the Army in the South. And that reminded me of banana spiders. And I was explaining what banana spiders are to Emily, my girlfriend. And like, it's one thing to like explain what it is. It's another thing to see a really, really big banana spider.
Do I know?
Are you not familiar?
I don't know.
Actually, I should correct. We'll get to what I learned about them, but specifically here, we're talking about golden orb weaver spiders.
Oh, yeah. I have those in my backyard all the time.
Yeah. So I was explaining what they are. And I swear, 30 seconds after explaining what they are, we come around a corner and there is the biggest orb weaver I have ever seen in my life. It's gigantic. I'm used to them. Not a big deal. She kind of freaks out, understandably. And she asked if they're dangerous. And I tell her, based on what I had been told in the Army, where you bump into these things all the time, that no, they're not dangerous. You don't have to worry about them. They're not harmful to humans. And then I'm thinking I should just like Google it and check. So I Google, are banana spiders dangerous? And the top result is like, they're extremely dangerous, like massive blood pressure ramifications if you get bit by them. As it turns out, there are two different spiders called orb weavers, or called banana spiders. There's the golden orb weaver of the North and Central America region. That's not dangerous at all. Then there's a different spider that also goes by a colloquial name of banana spider. This is the one that's in like Brazil, I think.
That the Brazilian wandering spiders.
Yeah, that one is the one that's extremely dangerous.
Why would you name two things the same thing if one will kill you and one?
Well, I think that's the thing. I don't think either of them are actually named banana spider.
This YouTube video is called "The Banana Spider: Dangerous or Misunderstood." I can.
It is. I had a conversation at work a couple of days afterwards. What's the camel spiders? Have you ever bumped into those?
Oh yeah.
So first off, camel spiders, not actually spiders.
They're not camels either.
Oh, so true.
Fun fact.
We do have small ones here in Colorado, but military folks are more familiar with the much, much larger ones in the Middle East. Also not dangerous to humans, despite how scary they look.
It's funny we talk about animal names. I saw this thing. This is wildly off topic, but the duck-billed platypus, right? That animal is older than the duck.
Interesting.
Which makes you wonder why / what was it called before?
So it's really the platypus build duck.
Exactly.
Mm.
But yet here we are. So speaking of things going by different names, and this is Alex and Drew on Mops and Mo's podcast, but what you will be listening to is the Coaches After Action Report.
Yeah. So Ray and Travis have their own podcast.
We've had Ray on.
We have had Ray on. He's been on Mops and Mo's before.
Yeah, friend of the show.
They started their own podcast. They are also tactical human performance focused. I think the biggest difference between our two podcasts is that, well, we have drifted into more strategy and culture and policy type of world. They are very much focused on the tactical, like coaching at the ground level type of stuff. So if that's more your vibe, highly encourage checking them out. We had a great time hanging out with them.
We are very adrift, and they are very much still on task, which is good for them. So yeah, everything else.
I was actually looking at it. They asked us how long we'd been doing the podcast when we were on there. We said over 2 years. Drew, it's been over 3 years.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Man, look at us. Well, hey guys, thanks for listening. Hopefully we're still doing this 3 years from now. And without any further ado, enjoy the Coaches After Action Report.
And we're back. This is the Coaches AAR. Coach Ray here.
And Coach Travis, as always.
And today we are joined by Mops and Mo's, Alex and Drew. We'll do a quick intro. We'll let them take over and do a quick intro. Mainly because your first episode it's quite a ways away.
I think it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Over 2 years, yeah.
Over 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we need an intro on each of you.
Alex, you go first.
And then a little Mops and Mo's intro.
Sure. I am Alex. Back before there was a podcast and there was just a social media for Mops and Mo's, got that thing started while I was working at the Army Physical Fitness School. That was on the back end of my active duty time. I was an intel officer in the Army. While I was working at the fitness school, a couple things happened. One, I realized we were really bad at communicating like the human performance knowledge that the Army had out to the force. So I was trying to find a better way to do that. And two, I realized that I really liked the human performance space and did not want to go back to like windowless skiffs and like PowerPoint slides and sit reps. And like just none of that was appealing anymore. So I left active duty, started working on H2F, which you guys are familiar with. Did that for a couple of years as a civilian. And then for the last 2 years, I've been working on the Space Force's version of H2F called the Holistic Health Approach. I'm still in the Army Reserve, so still involved in the Army side as well.
Thank you for that, Alex. I'm Drew. I think I'm the Mops side of Mops and Mo's.
Mm-hmm.
We decided. Strength coach by trade. I worked as a strength and conditioning coach and then kind of a program manager in Air Force Special Operations for 6 or 7 years, I think. And then moved back home to North Carolina, picked up the H2F project up at Fort Bragg. And I've been doing that ever since. So 5-ish years now. And I think as with most folks in this industry, kind of all along on the side, working with athletes one-on-one, kind of doing some concierge remote medicine type stuff, performance healthcare. And then connected with Alex, I think, what is the story? I was given a presentation.
COVID timeframe.
Yeah, COVID on something to do with sports science. He and I connected. We started talking. Then we started recording ourselves talking. And just because of the timing, had a whole lot of content related to H2F and embedded human performance. So there you have it.
Nice. No, I think most people know who you guys are, especially our audience. So, but again, we appreciate the intro and appreciate you guys jumping on. Softball question. Alex kind of just jumped into it, but so you started the podcast because of that, the idea that we weren't doing a great job of getting out human performance information to the enterprise, essentially, or to the military in general. Do you feel that you all have stayed the course in doing that, or have you kind of gone back and forth?
I have thought about this a bunch.
That's a good question.
Because what it has been trying to do has transformed a little bit over time. I think one of the big shifts is when I started it as a social media platform, H2F didn't exist. And pretty quickly there, pilot stuff starts happening, human performance folks start being in the space. Then H2F starts to scale to like 40 brigades. And now all of a sudden there's tons of human performance people in the Army suddenly engaging with it. So like now we got one audience that's just like soldiers that happen to care about fitness. And then there's a whole nother audience that is the human performance professionals working with soldiers who may or may not have a military background. That changed the dynamic a lot. And then I think with the podcast, Drew and I definitely, without really like intending to do it, drifted from like the X's and O's of how to do like the reps and sets stuff. And it definitely became much more of like the culture that's built around that, strategic level issues, cultural kind of stuff. And then on the social media side, it's been that drift plus the constant struggle of the competing demands between like useful information and engaging content. Cause like the stuff I work really hard on, where I like spend a couple of days like reading some research and like really dive into like how to portray this graphically in a way that's useful to people. Nobody cares.
When he used to
like
post workout shit. When he used to wear tights and post workout videos, I mean, engagement was high.
We're like strategic plan from Ups and Mo's. There's going to be more videos of me working out for some reason because that's what the fucking internet wants, I guess. But
I think to Alex's point, one thing we did realize pretty quickly, and you guys know this, but the first couple of episodes going into it, we were like, okay, we can talk about training for strength and training for endurance and et cetera. But then we were like, well, shoot, if your like mindset's not in the right place, well, who should we talk to about that? And then that connects to somebody over there, and then you're over here. And then next thing you know, you're talking to senior leaders at like a policy level. So we don't really have, I don't think there's like a thread that connects all of it intentionally. We literally just kind of go all over the place. I mean, the one we're putting out this weekend is about submarines. So we kind of have pursued the stuff that's interesting to us. And it just so happens that the people that listen typically find that interesting too. But we were just talking about this. If you'd asked us 2 years ago if we would end up here, for sure not. I don't think so.
I remember, I followed you guys on social media pretty, I guess, early in your careers before the podcast. Cause I remember there being a post like first Mouse and Mo's podcast type stuff. But at first it was like, a lot of updates on just FM 7-22. And they're like, hey, new PT test coming down the pipeline. We got trap bar deadlift in there. Here's how to, properly brace. And here's how you train for strength. And you need to be incorporating X, Y, and Z into your program at least X times per week and things like that. And, as a strength coach at the time, I was like, oh, this is all good stuff, man, because
now it's off the wall nonsense.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. It's out of the niche realm, and it's like you said, less focused on the X's and O's and more conceptual and more like holistic, if you will.
There you go.
It does also like chart my learning journey pretty well, because like when it launched, I'm not even sure I had my CSCS yet. If I did, it was like within like a single digit number of weeks. Like I'd just gotten it. I still don't totally consider myself a strength coach, if we're being honest. I have a CSCS, but lots of people have it that aren't actual coaches. I've never been paid to do that full time. I'm much more of like a program manager type of nonsense character. But like some of those early posts, if you go back to them, are just like literally stuff I pulled from like the NSCA textbook and like put it on an Instagram single slide thing. And I go back and talk to Drew about it all the time. Like, I'm not even sure how much of that is true anymore. Like I did like the training residuals slide. Like
most of it's
how long does it take before like aerobic adaptations go away? How long does it take for strength? Like I'm not
3 days.
I don't think it's true. Like, like it was a good, useful, like early concept to help like start framing your decisions about programming and stuff. But a lot of it, like you can chart where like I started to move past that as well.
Yeah. Were you tagging that? Were you tagging the NSCA? Oh. Were you tagging the NSCA?
We went, I think we've pulled out of it, but for a while we were going, I say me was going pretty deep on bashing the NSCA.
Drew loves to bash the NSCA. Meanwhile, I'm the one who goes to all the NSCA's events and talk to them. I will say one thing that rattled me early in the Mops and Mo's time frame. I think I put up a post about like periodization is really not that important. And people went nuts. I was getting like coaches messaging me that I'm a
I
lunatic and all that stuff.
this.
And I remember a little later, like going to, I'm pretty sure it was an NSCA event, but it was full of like people who'd been in the space for a while. And everybody there's like, oh yeah, we all kind of agree on that. Like it's probably not that big a deal. I was like, what? Like when I said that on the internet, I got like crucified. Like
You're like, man,
Yeah.
I was the first one. I was the first one.
Well, I mean, I go to the NSCA events, but I'm not sure if they want to hear me talk anymore because
no,
because yeah, you do get that, like, yeah, periodization is all well and good when you have a normal population, but if you have a group of people and they're like, hey, I'm going TDY for 2 weeks, and then hey, I'm going to JRTC for 30 days, and then hey, I'm getting deployed for 9 months, and we have a rinky dink, bullshit gym, it goes out the window. And the biggest thing is just, I like we talk about on here sometimes, is just filling these little fitness buckets of whatever aspects we're trying to train within our program. We're trying to fill these every week, consistently, every week. That's it. Like, as long as we fill all these buckets every week, we're probably in a good space. We don't have to be NFL like, I don't have to run like a 4.340 to be an effective operator, right? If I have requisite, strength, endurance, speed, power development, all these other good things, mobility, I'm probably fine.
I think that's what a lot of traditional strength coaches, that's where they go in and like they bash the CrossFit style training. But if you've been in the space for a while, right? Like I worked at a CrossFit gym right out of the military, did an internship at U of H, and then that's kind of was my first job out of the military. And you saw people go from 0 to, deadlifting their body weight or 3 times their body weight, and they're 60-year-old grandmas who all they did was just show up consistently a couple times a week. There was no plan, and there's a lot to be said about that simple consistency. And I think, we have a train the trainer course that just started last week, and I gave a little talk on training, and one of the big highlights is from the NSCA, right? Or kind of NSCA-ish style training is we get wrapped around these like 8-week blocks, 4-week blocks, 12-week blocks, but all that training is based on an event that will occur, not on maybe an event will occur at some point. And so the training looks a certain way because you only have X amount of time. If you go to summer training for any like collegiate football team, it's going to be intense and it's going to be hard, but they would never be able to sustain that for like 6 months. So I think that's where we kind of have to like, and you talked about this, Drew, like, I was going to
say, I'm trying really hard not to dive into an absolute rabbit hole.
Yeah, and I think I kind of want to get Drew on it because even in 7-22, they kind of tried to like wedge in some periodization principles and things like that. Like I forget the nomenclature they actually use. It was like the refresh phase or whatever.
Base build peak. Let's go, baby.
Base build peak, and then we're peaking. And I'm like, how do you peak for an 11-month event? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I peak for, a powerlifting competition. That tracks. Okay. Hey, peak for one thing I do every 12 weeks all year.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But I peak for an 11-month in a, sometimes a shithole environment, sometimes a nice environment, wherever I'm getting deployed. Sometimes great facilities, sometimes no facilities. Sometimes I'm patrolling every day. Sometimes I'm sitting in the guard tower pulling security every day.
And sometimes it feels so disconnected from like the reality on the ground. Like within the last couple of weeks, I've had 2 people. No, only one. I had one guy deploy who it was failing his PFA. So like, what does readiness mean? It means like be able to meet the fundamental standards, like to go. He wasn't meeting the fundamental standards, so technically not ready. But it turns out all it takes is a commander signing a memo that waives it. He deploys anyway, and we build him a PT plan so he can get in shape while he's deployed.
Yeah, it's like
that's so the whole thing is like it ruins the whole concept.
It's all wazoo, dude. It doesn't matter.
Well, and I think that's where
my life is a lie.
I'm trying not to get on a soapbox here, but like I think that's where tactical strength coaches miss the mark. we aren't trained as like, traditional strength coaches, right? Like I'm thinking about me sitting in my master's degree. Like nobody taught me how to sustain performance. It was all like I thought humans functioned in waves. Like, okay, we peak and then we deload and we kind of do this thing. And when I got into the tactical setting, I mean, to your point, Travis, it's like, well, shit, they're gone 3 nights a week doing like helo ops. They're swimming, diving next week in San Diego. Like this doesn't make sense based on the kind of Excel sheets that I was given in this master's program and in this
Yeah.
textbook and the way that I thought programming was supposed to go. And I don't want to bash tactical strength coaches. I love the industry, but it has to be about more than sets and reps, because to Alex's point, you're right. A commander can just pencil whip a piece of paper and it doesn't matter if they fail their AFT or whatever the PT test is. And if we hang our hat on readiness being determined by passing or failing this test, operationally, it doesn't really matter. So it's like, how else can we move the needle? We can build good relationships. We can make sure everything's good at home. We can connect them with the psych doc or the dietitian or all these other things. And I think when you realize that the strength coach, and maybe this is bias, but the strength coach gets the most touch points with a lot of these athletes. Everybody else is appointment based. You go and seek them out when you need them, but you see your coach probably more than any of your other providers. And if that individual is not doing a good job picking up on the cues that you're leaving and referring you to the right person, then I think that we're falling flat. And I know we'll probably get into some of this later, but I'll step off my soapbox now.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're spot on, and that's stuff that we say all the time is just being a guy. I had a mentor early on in one of my internships when I was still in college that used to call it coaching with your face in it. Like you use it, you gotta get your face in it, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
realize what's going on. Like it's more than just, hey, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Here's the X's and O's. It's hey, this guy's knees are caving in every time he's doing this, or this guy looks extra tired today. He's normally lifting XYZ weight, and today he's doing ABC, and it's digging into that and being like, hey, what's going on? What, are you sleeping
Mm-hmm.
okay? You got problems at home? Like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And, kind of digging into the art of coaching, I guess, if you will, like beyond the textbook and knowing the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I get big on, like, especially in a small population like mine, is like knowing everybody's first name, trying to know more than just baseline superficial details about people so that I can connect with them on a human level and maybe help them in that physical
Mm-hmm.
performance realm and be able to recognize when something's going wrong. Or like, for example, we have a dude that is your gung-ho officer type, would never want to be on a profile in his life, thinks it's a sign of weakness, whatever, right? And he hurts himself, hurts his back, doesn't want to tell anybody. He's showing signs of it during the workout. I have to prod him and drag him over to physical therapy. And he's got an issue that he needs to sit down for, you know, 4 or 5 weeks and let it chill. When
Mm-hmm.
if this left to his own devices and I just ignore him and whatever, that progresses and gets worse. And now he's sitting down for months. And
Or he gets out, or
Yeah.
he retires early,
headboard,
or
right?
his career's over. Yeah.
I like the thing
That's a,
Drew said. I think it was on one of our recent podcasts. I'm not sure where I heard Drew talking about it, but like, I think a sign of a good human performance program is that if you try to walk around the unit's footprint, like how many people say hi to you, like how many
Mhm.
people catch it, like that's, it shows the relationships are there, and the relationships matter so much more than the X's and O's of what the workout was last whatever Tuesday.
yeah. I think we're hitting a good point of like, and it boils down to having been in the tactical field for so long, in the conventional side, H2F side, right? There's an assumption of the type of training that we are going to provide. Is the assumption is that the population that we are providing the training to already has a foundation of something, and that foundation doesn't exist the way we think it exists. That's the reality on the ground. And one of the big things that I thought would be great to have you guys on is you talk to a lot of policymakers, you talk to on the strategic level, right? And why is that important to the coach on the ground? Because sometimes the coach on the ground sees that as a disconnect, right? And it's like, why is this important to me? But that's kind of beyond my point right now. But really understanding that the issues that we're having, you guys talked about. Uh, I was listening to a couple of your podcasts. You mentioned old Bobby, and you're talking about the fitness test, right? Which I think is a great idea, right? Like we're prioritizing fitness, but we really have to understand as a society that it's so upstream that what we really need to fix is so upstream. Um, and so that's why we're saying like, hey, yes, we still want to be coaches on the ground and like do the X's and O's, but that's why the soft skills become so much more important. Um, and I think it's important to understand because as I've also become more like read more and become hopefully more intelligent, um, like this concept of maybe we really should be training these soldiers in cohorts of their enlistments as opposed to like everybody doing the same thing, right? Like first enlistment should be it's almost like the rule of three type thing where it's like the first 4 years you should be focusing on this, the second 4 years focus on this.
Some long-term athlete development kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then what happens if you have somebody on the list who played college sports?
And they get to skip
Yeah.
it too.
That's why you got coaches.
That's the tough part. You send them over to SOF is what you do.
Yeah, go assess,
intake
dude.
criteria. I don't know. We had like some Pogue prior NFL guys in the Army. We were like, dang, dude, what do you do?
Yeah.
Blew that.
I'll hit a couple.
Money, didn't you?
Ray got me thinking about a couple things there that like I'll make some fast points. I don't know if they'll be relevant or helpful or not, but like one is you talk about like coaches' frustrations on the ground. Those are fundamentally solved at the policymaker level. Like it's hard to make the connections sometimes, but like routinely I'll hear like coaches frustrated with the company that hired them, but the company that hired them is executing a task that was written with astonishing specificity by the government. So if you want to improve conditions for the coaches on the ground in terms of like the job being what we say it is, them being paid what we think they're worth, opportunities to advance within the career field without having to leave it, like all that comes down to like the government writing better contracts and writing like value for coaches. And I think the biggest one, like we'll talk H2F specifically for a second, but there's a lot of complaint that there's not like, if I have a master's or extra experience or a unique background, I don't get paid more. And that is because the contract does not ask the employer to bring in coaches that can do more. The contract has very explicit minimum requirements and then nothing above that. Like, yes, for brigade lead and base lead and things like that, there's some stuff. But like for any given coach in a brigade, it's the same thing. So if they hire somebody better and pay them more, all they're doing is losing money. The government is not compensating them for the added value they have provided. So until the government, and I'll say we, because some of us work for the government, until we better articulate what like the different levels of coaching are and how somebody can add more value beyond the baseline, they're not going to get compensated for it. And that's a really important problem to solve. And then like the next layer of that is how do we create GS civilian coaching positions so that there's a way to progress from like contract coach to actually in the government system to being a contender for program director and things like that.
Yeah.
Team, this episode of Mops and Mo's is brought to you by Train Heroic. Train Heroic is a reliable, well-designed platform for programming, tracking, and communicating with athletes. If you've been with us for any length of time, you will know that Train Heroic is the platform that we use to power our own training, long and strong, which you can find at our website, mopsandmos.com. If you're looking for a solid platform to support your own coaching, whether it's your full-time role or a side hustle, Train Heroic is definitely worth checking out. You can use the link in any of our show notes. You can find it in our newsletter, or you can head to our website, mopsandmos.com/training to get your first week for free.
That's actually a great point, a great segue, because Travis and I being on the pilot, we had the opportunity to work with a lot of really high-level coaches, all of which, most of them are gone, all of which would have stayed on. They would have stayed on. We have one coach went up to Illinois. I mean, he's crushing it. He's enjoying life and stuff, but there's a frustration with not only like we were in the pilot, we were really close knit because we were much smaller. So it was almost like, hey, I know the company's doing this, but we're close knit. We're banding together. Everybody's, we're a close family. But more of the frustration was on the leadership side, right? Like, how do we get these leaders to utilize us? And we kind of talked. You kind of mentioned it. You did the Q&A thing on socials, right? And there was a point where you talked about, well, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have a good memory, but essentially it was like, hey, the practitioner, need to go out and make things happen, which Travis and I will agree with you because we went out and made things happen. But there also has to be a level of commitment on the leadership side. And the onus is always on the leader for readiness, right? The resources are being allocated to you, utilize the resources. I don't think that, and I've said this before in many different forums, and Drew was on an email recently where I said this in a forum. We need assistance from the top, and we need somebody with a star on their chest to champion us at some point, right? And so that was a good segue into what I want to Travis.
I think I hit reply all to the email.
It's reply all. You got to reply all to everything. No, but I was basically, to your point, I was going to say something like that. Just how you had made the you always bring up the fact that it is kind of on the practitioner on the ground to kind of facilitate buy-in and kind of sell themselves a little bit. And I kind of understood that as a when we're on the what was it called? SRT 2P was the first.
Yep.
And that was the first contract that we were on, was the SRT2P, because they were going to have an entirely different fitness test.
Yeah, that was pre-ACFT. That was when you had like the loading
the
platform.
SRT.
And
yeah, we had the dummy drag, the tire flip,
which was a great test.
Yeah,
it was a great test.
I like that test, man. I like that test. But and then what was it, like a mile or a mile and a half kit run, basically, with some random like wazoo, like over under in the middle, but whatever. Nothing's going to be perfect, but it was a decent
for folks that are interested in like the politics and the history. The SRT was the ForceCom test, and the ACFT was the TRADOC test, and there was a bunch of like Army Civil War stuff going on over
infighting.
What's
going to be what we're going to do, right? But I understood the apprehension when it came to that, and it was like, who are these guys? Like when we got on the ground, so first of all, we were completely blatantly lied to, and just being like, hey, you're gonna have college level like D1 weight room facilities, and you guys are gonna get in there and you're gonna find the space, you're gonna be able to outfit it however you want, and like they were really laying it on thick to get everybody in there, because I guess they had a deadline to fill the spots. And then me and Ray get on the ground and we're like, where's my office? And they're like, who are you? And we're like, oh, hey, I'm Travis, this is Ray, we're your strength and conditioning coaches. Oh, hey, I heard something about that in like a staff meeting one time many moons ago or whatever. And, hey, glad you're here, nice to meet you. And I think we facilitated buy-in by leading, cliche, leading from the front kind of thing. We would put these workouts out there. At first it was voluntary basis, we didn't have any equipment, we went and rummaged in the garbage pile. And I know we've said this story many times, but we'd grab like Bradley road wheels and put chains on them and make our little makeshift sleds, and we're doing whatever, having chains out there instead of battle ropes, and whatever we could get our hands on, tow bars for like Zerker lunges and things like that.
I don't know if Drew was there. I have been dumpster diving at Fort Bragg. Like I have been to like the DRMO disposition lot and dug through the pile of trash for like
useful stuff.
We have DRMO assault bikes from Korea, bro.
So the DRMO here is in Alamogordo. Right? There's not one on Fort Bliss, because we asked when I was there. I'm like, where? Well,
because Fort Bliss is a DRMO, dude.
No, remember we went to that one little wazoo warehouse thing.
Yeah, but that's still not dermo.
But anyway, we were just getting out.
You got to get an LMTV, man. You got to get out there and go digging at Alamogordo.
But I mean, okay, so I'll ask this to the three of you guys. Like, riddle me this: name one successful company that did not start out of basically a metaphorical garage.
Exactly.
I mean, do you think,
or whatever?
Do you think, Travis, if you showed up and all that stuff was there, do you think that it would have been as successful as it has been for you guys?
I don't think so.
Wherever you're at.
And that was kind of the point I was getting to, is that it was an effective mindset shift from the D1 setting, right? In the D1 setting, it's kind of handed to you on a platter, and it's like, these athletes will be here at this time, or there's a consequence for them. When you get to the military, it's like, Yeah, they can use you if they think it's a good idea, right? And we think it's all well and good that we have this program and it looks good on my OER that I support you guys. So I'm going to support you guys, but ultimately it's up to that company commander usually, right? Or maybe that battalion commander if he wants to put it into some kind of frago or whatever to make it mandatory to go work with your H2F team. But it really got us out of our comfort zone and made us go have these conversations with people and really like Alex was saying, like sell ourselves. Like
Yeah.
this is what we bring to the table. I see you guys doing X, Y, and Z for PT. Come try out, come try out our thing and let me know what you think, you know?
Well, and this might get me in trouble. I don't know, but you talk about guys leaving, and I've seen that too. You know, coaches show up and it's not what they think and they leave. And quite frankly, if you're not the kind of coach who's going to show up and kind of see that as an opportunity instead of a problem, I don't think that you're a good fit for this type of work. I mean, like you mentioned, a lot of these guys and gals, D1 sport, professional sport, you show up, the equipment, the facility is immaculate, but then so too are the athletes. And quite frankly, this is upsetting, but they don't need you. I mean, those guys have gotten to the level that they're at. Sure, you can kind of like optimize a little bit. And I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but it's the folks that I think we work with on a daily basis, these kind of gen pop soldiers, airmen, Marines, whomever. You can have a massive, massive impact, but it's going to require you to do a little bit of DRMO and to get creative and to find solutions for problems. And I think the type of coach who does well in that environment is going to thrive here long term versus if you need an Eleiko barbell that spins a bunch and you need a rack and you need air conditioning and you need music and you need a schedule, then it's just not for you. And that's fine. Like I would hate to work in a collegiate or professional space. I'm not good at that stuff. I like this environment. And I think that years on now, we're starting to attract those kinds of people, hopefully.
I'll
I
also
think,
add a
I
layer real quick.
Sorry if I pissed anybody off.
No, dude.
No, I think
Add
100%
on to
valid.
it.
I think I'll add like a little bit of complexity to what I said on that Instagram Q&A about like who owns selling the thing. If I'm talking to a room full of coaches, I am going to tell them that it is entirely up to them to sell themselves. It's not up to command. If I talk to a room full of commanders, I'm going to tell them it's entirely up to them to utilize the service, not up to the coaches. Because I'm like, just from a mindset perspective, like, do you control what happens or do things just happen to you? I want people to like assume, like walk through life under the impression that they control outcomes, whether they're on the commander side or the practitioner side or the medical provider side. Like coaches should absolutely be selling themselves. Commanders should absolutely be using the coaches. But whenever I talk to one audience or the other, I'm going to tell them like, hey, like do everything within your power to make this thing good.
Mm.
Hey,
No, that
you're
makes
good,
sense.
like psyop guy, man. But no, to Drew's point, in this field or this niche, I guess I can say that I feel like I have, undoubtedly saved careers. I have altered people's lives in positive ways and maybe even changed the trajectory of people's lives. I put people in their dream jobs in some cases. And you really can't say that at the D1 or professional level in sports, right? Maybe you can say it at like the high school level, like you make a really hot, like big impact on a kid's life or whatever. But I think this setting is very rewarding if you put the work in and if you make those connections and if you're a people person and you really care about your athletes, like
Yeah.
you got to care first and foremost because people sense when you don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
showing up for a paycheck. Nobody's listening to me.
I agree. I agree with everybody, right? I agree with all of you. I think it is difficult to find those coaches, not because there isn't a desire to be those coaches, but there's a few of us who understand the task of like, hey, I have to think outside the box. And it's not being taught in the college level. Um, you know, we're gonna have Brian Leary on later. He does the West Virginia tactical physiology program, and it's something that we've talked about a lot in terms of like, hey, he's asked me like, are we preparing them for these jobs? And we've sat down and we've talked. I'm like, hey, they should probably be doing this, and he's
We'll
been
work in a
able to.
CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
I will
He's been-
say for Brian specifically, super receptive, like always having these conversations.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to make sure the program sets people up for success.
And he's had a few of his graduates go to H2Fs and they've been successful because like he's told them like, hey, you need to go talk to your commanders and you need to go do this and you need to go show that you can do the thing by jumping into going to watch a range or doing AFT or AFT now. I think that's huge. I will say that I think there's this problem in general, like to go on a little tangent, in general with tactical, where there's still coaches who think they wear the different logos, and that makes sense in collegiate, but we shouldn't all be trying to one up ourselves. Hey, dude.
I thought you're trying
your kid intervening, dude.
I thought you're trying
No,
to smash a fly.
Can you guys? Do you hear my dog? Can you guys hear my
No,
dog?
we can't hear.
All right.
No, your microphone's quality.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank
Got
you.
that noise
Thank you,
canceling.
Carmen. But yeah, no, there's like a lot of one upping, right? And you see this a lot in like LinkedIn.
Oh my
Like,
God, dude! Don't
I
get me
hate the
started on
weirdness,
LinkedIn.
dude. Man, don't
Yeah,
get me on
I
that
hate
tangent, dude.
LinkedIn.
right. So
Alex
it's like,
loves a LinkedIn.
It's such a good place to start a fight, man. It's,
Alex loves an
such
internet fight.
weirdos, dude.
Wrangled some
I
guests.
can't
Who's
tell
wrangled some
you what
guests
I'm
through
doing for
LinkedIn, though?
programming.
Dude,
What?
It's a
Yeah.
secret. I can't tell you what we're doing. Shut up, dude.
I will say we've kind of moved on from this part of the conversation, but it's worth sneaking in because I think it's important for coaches to hear it. And I think you got coaches listening to you. As a guy who's been tasked on many occasions with running around the Army, checking in on H2F programs, capturing the feedback, bringing it to the headquarters, advocating for changes, telling them what's working, what's not working. One thing will kill our ability to advocate for better conditions for coaches. And that is if like leaders walk into H2F spaces at hypothetically 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1400, whatever it is, and there's just a ton of coaches sitting there doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That kills like the people who are fighting to make it better and fighting for like opportunities for advancement and permanent positions and like saying the coaches are the most valuable part of this because they have all the engagement with the soldiers. I've bumped into it enough times. Like I get it. I get what's going on. It's easier to generate utilization during specific hours. Those tend to be 6 to 8 and 11 to 1. And like towards the end of the duty day, that's how the rhythm works. But we got to figure out ways to add value. And it's dumb, but like even just so it looks like you're adding value. Like
they'll carry a box, walk around.
Perception is reality, kind of thing.
Hey,
you know?
I went to Marine Corps boot camp. I know how to.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
You know the sham, dude.
I'm tucking in my bed for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, but there are opportunities, man. Because I think a lot of time as an H2F coach, like you said, a lot of time there was just kind of like, what are we doing? Like we sit there, so we do the morning workout, and then hey, I did next week's programming, and then maybe I did the following week, and then I reported up my whatever metrics that people want to see, and then we did our staff lift time, and now I ate lunch, and now what am I doing? You know, and during those hours is good to kind of walk around and sometimes just BS with the Joes, man. Smoking and joking,
and that is value. That is value.
Yeah, smoking and joking, showing your face around, because all these Joes aren't doing stuff all day, right? I could walk into any cough anywhere and find a group of dudes hiding, and then
we talk about this all the time. I posted
a conversation.
It's probably about time for me to post it again on the Instagram, but it was like the study of like work hours per day for soldiers, because everybody talks about like op tempo and things are horrible, and like people go to the field a lot and that sucks, and people have night shifts and that sucks and whatever. But during normal duty days where people are in garrison, you're like, certainly you're like platoon leader, platoon sergeant and up are very busy. Sometimes squad leader and up are busy. But like below that,
they're just waiting.
We're really bad at keeping people busy.
Yeah. That's probably MOS dependent too, right? Like I think like your mechanics are probably busy.
Yes, actually, I will. I've been in an infantry battalion, man. And
your infantrymen are probably sitting there figuring out what to like wrestling in a base.
Okay.
Mechanics don't get the love they deserve. It's
they're such hard workers.
All the time. We'd come back from the field when I was in an infantry battalion, and the battalion commander would be like, "Oh yeah, take a 4-day weekend. You guys did awesome out there." And then the support company commander would turn around to his guys and be like, "That doesn't apply here. Like we got to keep working. We got to fix all those trucks."
And I didn't realize that until I was a coach on this side. And I'm like, man, these mechanic dudes are burning the midnight oil sometimes, and they're there till 1900 or something just to get green on a slideshow. So
Yeah. No, as a grunt, as a 19-year-old PFC Lance Corporal, I got really good at Halo.
Nice.
And like, it's like we weren't doing much, right? Like, and then we would get the knock on the door and be like, hey, we got formation. And so I use that argument a lot where it's like, well, we can't train at 1100. I'm like, please don't tell me you can't train at 1100 because I can walk to your motor pools
Yeah.
and there's 20 people, but there's 500 in the battery.
Training
So
can
where
happen
are
even
they?
if the leaders aren't there. I think that's like the hardest thing
Yeah.
for people to wrap their head around. Like, you might be in the command and staff meeting, like the guys are not, and they can go
Right.
train. And that's like what we should be doing to like optimize the use of that time for maximum, whatever you want to call it, readiness, lethality, whatever. But
the dudes would probably like that better. Almost, 70% of them would probably like that more.
one of my company commanders told me when I was a platoon leader, he said, if you're doing maintenance or you're doing PT, you're probably not wrong. Right. So we kept a binder in the platoon office of like some good workouts to do. And if like a team leader or squad leader walked in and was like, hey, my guys aren't doing anything, just grab one of those, take them to the gym, make sure your cell phones are on you in case we need you later. Done. Like,
this is an Intel company. Yeah, see, this should put all you infantrymen listening to this to shame, because I know some of y'all ain't doing that. You're not doing specific infantry skills training either. You're all just on your phones.
there's a lot of sitting in the
somewhere,
bay. It was Candy Crush when I was in an infantry battalion. Everybody's fucking playing Candy Crush. But
yeah, now it's
Oh,
now it's
man.
Call of Duty on the iPhone. We've upgraded.
It was called Snake for me.
But you had like the Atari set up.
It's a throwback.
Yeah,
The Nokia.
I don't want to
Nokias.
pretend we were always like doing super useful shit, because I have this like vivid memory of like two of my soldiers fitted in like cardboard armor beating the crap out of each other with like wrapping paper tubes or something. It's like it wasn't always.
You honestly need that though for morale.
I think I've only ever had two quotes on my desk, which I know is kind of cheesy, and one of them is John Wooden's, and it's "Don't confuse activity for achievement." That has stuck with me. I originally wrote it down because I was thinking about it in the context of strength and conditioning. A lot of the stuff that people program is just fluff. It's not achieving anything, but it's, I think the continuation of that quote gets into something about kids on the playground and like what's actually happening. Again, something that might get me in trouble. The military is incredibly guilty of that. There's a lot of activity, but busy versus productive is a very, very real thing. And if you have to, I should preface this by saying, in order to be the person that's able to have that kind of conversation with somebody who can make a difference, you have to have the buy-in piece. You have to have done the work to be able to have that relationship, because if you're just going to walk around and accuse people of not doing anything, you're going to get hosed. But when we talk about culture and culture change, we've said this on the podcast before, I think the biggest hurdle to an effective embedded human performance program is the culture that it's embedded into. The Army is not conducive to H2F. I'm sorry. It's not. It's getting better. I think all the branches could probably say that for their human performance teams. But until we're able to make some whole-scale, large changes, we talk about fast foods on military installations, AFI's giving out free liquor samples on Monday, like all kinds of crazy shit that's going on. And then we wonder why, soldiers don't want to show up and do the thing. It's because, well, everything's punitive. Everything is, the culture is a huge, very slow moving ship. And all the points that you guys are making are super valid. There's a lot of opportunity for change if you can get through the kind of path dependency and have those conversations to say, hey, what would happen if we PT'd in the afternoon instead of the morning? The world probably wouldn't blow up. Let's try it for a month and just see. And I think the teams that are starting to do that, we're starting to see some really interesting changes taking place.
Yeah. I think we have to remember that we as a human performance practitioners, we are the ambassadors for physical culture. And we have to like really wear that hat on a daily basis, even when it's frustrating, even when it's tiring, when you feel like you're not getting the buy-in that you think you should be getting, because that will slowly make changes. We've had not we. I'm not going to even put myself into it, but the coaches that I have the opportunity to work with, they've done an amazing job of feeling that out and feeling the soldiers out to where we have soldiers that are coming for 2-a-days on their own accord, plus the PT session. But then the coaches have to be like, "Didn't we see you earlier?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "No, no, you're just gonna go. You're gonna go on the bike.
Go do
Just
some
gonna do
yoga.
some. Yeah, you're just gonna
do some active
yeah."
recovery, guy.
But it comes down to when you are an H2F or when you are a human performance practitioner, every opportunity that you have in front of a military member, you are on the stage, like it's your one shot, and you need to make it. You need to be a performer, and you need to make it the best that they have ever like felt in terms of like training or in terms of class. And I think a lot of times we do this sometimes, and I'm not going to generalize it to everybody. I will say that our team sometimes does a half-ass job of presenting something because it was rushed, because it was whatever. And all those little opportunities are like, those are like death by a thousand cuts type things.
Mm-hmm.
But we
I
have
think
to be on
everybody in
point.
this space has had some level of like guilt or like this current week for me and my team is chaotic. There's like headquarters requirements. There's teaching a train the trainer course kind of requirements. There's like a million things that are pulling people in different directions. And when that happens, you don't deliver as well on any one of those things. It's the nature of the beast. That stuff is going to happen, but it is.
You guys know Alex hates the word buy-in, right?
Bye.
I keep saying it intentionally because I know he hates it, but he's a big semantics guy.
I don't hate the word buy-in.
What does
for the record.
buy-in mean to you?
I don't hate the word buy-in.
Here we go.
I think that we should use it appropriately. And buy-in means money is changing hands. And
you're
so
talking like a poker. You're a big poker guy.
I'm looking
He's a
at
big
it
semantics
from
guy.
a business
He's a big
standpoint.
semantics guy.
But we do need to earn buy-in for H2F. But the people who write the checks are not the soldiers that come to the sessions. The people that write the checks are at the Pentagon. And so we need buy-in from those folks. So we have to answer the requirements they are worried about to get them to keep writing checks. And the things they are worried about is different than the soldiers in the cough that you're trying to come have like a productive hour with when they could be wasting time. We also need something from the guys hanging out at the cough. I don't necessarily know what that word is, but it's not buy-in because you're not charging them for your services.
Free in.
Some confidence, some you know.
Do they care?
So into that, I think that's a good segue into something that's on my mind, and maybe you have some insight. But so and it, to the name of your podcast, Mops and Mo's, man, we're always asked for these measures of performance, measures of effectiveness. And I've been doing this for the better part of a decade now. And I always kind of like what they're asking for always changes. And then sometimes we do it for a while and then they're like, hey, nobody was ever looking at that. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. F me. Right. And I'm wondering, what do you think is valuable and what is something a practitioner on the ground could capture? Because, for example, I just want to read something off that somebody has asked me to report on at one point that I thought was completely wazoo, right? So for a physical therapist, oh man, so for a physical therapist, it was average pain reduction per session. And I just think that is wazoo because, hey, sometimes
on a scale of what, 1 to 10?
Nothing. Average pain reduction per session. And I'm like, okay, so sometimes
I know how to hack that, by the way.
Yeah, sometimes a meaningful PT session, my pain might go up immediately, right? So hey, this guy's pain increased. So does my PT suck? You know what I mean?
As long as we define terms correctly, we can dominate that metric, right? Because like it assumes that like a patient comes in, PT asks them like, what's your injury? Oh, it's my ankle. What's your pain today? 1 to 10. Oh, it's like a 6. And then the PT does some stuff to them. And then as they leave, they ask them, what's your pain now? And they're like, oh, it's a 4. Like I reduced pain by 2 in this session.
Yeah, I write every month for that. When I was required to do that, I wrote average of 3 points on the board pain scale or whatever reduction per session.
But it doesn't
it's
mean
a
anything.
Metric.
That's also not how you reduce pain long term. Like the patient has to do the work. The physical therapist is guiding them through that. But more importantly, we've all probably had experiences with pain, different kinds of injuries. A great way to reduce the pain associated with like a nagging kind of chronic injury is to get a more severe acute injury. and you guys won't notice the other pain.
Kick him in the balls.
If we just,
pain
like, bro, a guy comes in complaining about his ankle hurting,
kick
punch
him
him
in
in the face, ask him real quick how your ankle feels. Like, I didn't even notice my ankle. My face was hurting. Like,
Hey, put your hand on
the
the table real quick.
I think there's a.
Hey, let me see that finger.
I think there's a bigger, and sorry, I feel like I keep going on monologues, but what I think I have recognized is, as kind of sitting in the program director seat, the people you work for are not sports scientists. And if you expect them to tell you, I should say, they're not sports scientists, but they are being told by the people that they work for that they need to pursue capital D data. They don't know what that is. Nobody knows what that is. The sports science industry doesn't really know what sports science data is. We've talked to some of these researchers, and it's like, we do our best guess with like a peer-reviewed study, and we come up with some stuff, and that's cool. But what I have seen happen, and I'm sure you guys have as well, because nobody knows what they're looking for, whoever has the loudest voice ends up being the one that dictates what we all end up looking for. And then next thing you know, you're briefing bullet points on a slide every other week that aren't going anywhere. And that's dictating the entire direction of your program. So you've asked about MOPS and MOs. I mean, I think the only real metric you can capture that makes any sense is compliance. And like, how do you do that? Well, how many people walk through the door? I guess that's a number. And if you can titrate that out to different companies, then sure, you could say that those guys train more than those guys. And then maybe there's like an action point on the back end of that. But I say all that because like right now, as we speak, like I have my team at work drilling our data down to like, what is the bare minimum thing that we should be doing? And if you're going to tell me that you're going to collect it, my question back to you is, what difference is that going to make? Like, I'm not going to give information to my commander if it's not going to then create an op board, drive change. We talk about this all the time, Alex and I, with wearables. It's like, why am I going to spend millions of dollars and countless hours to put something on that tells me that soldiers need to sleep more? Like, I know they need to sleep more. And I can show these charts to commanders. Is any commander going to change the op tempo because their soldiers need to sleep more? Probably not. Some are. And those are the ones that get to stand up and do the briefs at the symposium, and we all kind of clap and say, good job. But on an industrial level, when it comes to MOPS and MOs and data and impact, like we still don't really know what we're looking for. And I think we're all kind of hoping that maybe someday somebody figures that out. But until then, it's kind of a free for all in the best sense. And you can trial and error and iterate and figure out what's going to make the most sense for your team.
All right.
That's another monologue. Sorry.
My turn to ramble, and I'm going to miss some things. Like a million things have been flying through my head right now because this is something I've spent a lot of time working on.
This is not our podcast, Alex. We have to remember that.
No, it's good. It's your show right now.
Up front, I don't really want practitioners spending a ton of time on data collection.
Power BI.
Because that's not what we pay them to do. That's not what they're good at. I want data collection that is as transparent to the practitioner as possible. Another layer of it is we seem hooked on the idea that we can only investigate whether something works if we investigate it across the entire enterprise simultaneously. So we have to like make every single brigade team collect all the data we need and all the things we need. I think we could do it much smaller scale. There's a bunch of kids getting master's degrees and PhDs right now that would love to study the effectiveness of different components of these interventions, do actual research in an actual like guided, structured way with a smaller sample size, see if it works at that scale, generalize to the large organization. Next up in my rant, I don't think leaders make as many data-driven decisions as they pretend they do. And this comes back to that buy-in thing. There are some folks at the Pentagon who are going to need some data to justify high dollar value programs. And so we should figure out how we can collect the data they need to paint the picture they need. But I tell you what, if they created a program like H2F, it's because they already had the data to tell them there was a problem. So it was already being collected before the practitioners existed. So just keep looking at that same data with no additional collection effort and see if the needle moves. Don't create new metrics that they weren't worried about before and then tell them you're important because you moved the needle on the metrics you invented. Show them that you can move the needle on the metrics they hired you because they knew there was a problem. And then last one, this is silly, it's dumb, but it was a huge part of my job when I worked at the HTF headquarters. Leaders actually make decisions based on compelling narratives. Like collect the good news stories. Like I know coaches, medical providers, program directors, people all out there across the human performance space in the military, they see cool things happen in their space. and I can think of a bunch of these within just like the last few weeks in my tiny team of like 4 or 5 people, like senior leader who like added like 9 or 10 points to their VO2 max, guy who like could have been in the hospital if the physical therapist hadn't identified like a life-threatening condition for him. Like those things happen. It's up to you guys to get the story in the hands of the people who can tell it to a broader audience. Maybe that means bring your PAO in and talk about it. Maybe it means write an email to somebody at the headquarters. But like I straight up kept like a 3-page Word document of the top pictures and top 1 to 2 sentence good news stories that had come up recently. And those got sent to members of Congress with like some regularity, right? Like that's what ends up driving stuff.
Or wearables.
Yeah, or wearables. But to Drew's point, and then maybe Alex, you could tell me if I'm being reductionist. I feel like, okay, compliance, and then, you know, how many musculoskeletal injury profiles do we have within whatever group of people?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, our average AFT, ACFT, OFT, whatever our PT test thing is, score, and that's it. Is that too reductionist? That doesn't capture.
I don't think it's that reductionist.
I
I'll
think
tell
you
you
got more than you need.
We're getting like in the weeds of like, I'm not here representing any of my official capacity, but I can talk about like things I've learned in the past and previous jobs.
We'll have the disclaimer before the episode, so it'll be good.
But like for H2F, the headquarters already knows all the data they're collecting, and it doesn't require any input from the teams. It's all.
That's what I keep telling people.
That's what
like, guys, no one cares.
Yeah, it's like this is just a report getting sent off into the ether, it feels like. And
now there's pieces of that are not quite that, because like if you're collecting it only at the headquarters level, you have no ability to differentiate between what different teams are doing. You have no ability to determine a dose response. It's very binary. Like this soldier is in a unit that has H2F, this soldier is in a unit that doesn't have H2F. What's the difference in results? That's where that like the compliance or utilization number eventually will become necessary to try and chart like what this brigade has 5 strength coaches. This brigade has 10 strength coaches. Is there a difference? This brigade has a dietitian. This brigade doesn't. Is there a difference? These soldiers use H2F at a much higher rate in this brigade. Why? What's the difference? What are they doing? Like that will become necessary for program evaluation. So like, I'm not saying don't do any of that. And there's a reason brigades or divisions or corps might want to look at that. But at the highest level, like you guys talk like utilization, define utilization. If I create a YouTube channel and put content on it for my brigade, do I get to count every view of a video as a utilization of my team?
Yeah, they didn't say you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't know how it counts. Like me running a program right now, I give a lot of briefings to rooms full of large numbers of people. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 300. If I wanted to create utilizations, I would just brief the largest audiences I could as often as I could, and it would suck, and it would make no difference for anybody.
Are you talking about
2,000 individuals? No, but no. To your point, my physical therapist is a lot like you. It seems like, and I give him they're asking for this stuff on the monthly status report, and one of the line items happens to be planned versus unique encounters in physical therapy. And he was like, what's a planned encounter? He was like, if I see somebody at 7:30 during PT and I tell them to come back at 9, is that a planned encounter because I made an appointment, or is that a unique encounter? I'm like, dude, give me a number.
Make it up.
Let me report it, dude.
Well, I mean, you guys all hit on really important things. And as much as I am a meathead, I am a grunt.
But you also read books.
Metrical.
I read books, and
monkey smart.
I went to a kinesiology program that was very difficult, and I worked under one of Dr. Tanaka at the University of Texas. And if you guys have ever been around him, he is a very stern individual, and he cares about good science. And the number one thing is like, you better not do a shotgun approach to collecting data. Like, what is it you're trying to determine? Define the variable and then collect the variable. And then you don't go off script, you collect the variable, and then you can tell the story of what happened. So like when we look at what is the only thing that can affect readiness, the only thing that can truly affect readiness is an MRC3 that is at a certain severity, because they could be MSR3 and still get signed off, right? Dental, yes, which doesn't concern us. It's not part of our purview. But if somebody is flagged for being overweight, they can deploy. If somebody fails their AFT, they can deploy. So readiness is not really being effective in the definition of what readiness is in terms of like deployability. But I mean, the three metrics that I track is MRC3's performance on the AFT and then height and weight flags, simply because they're system of record. And I really don't have to do any extra metrics collection. We do a bunch of metrics collection, which I usually am the one that does it, which it's annoying. But we've played around with compliance overutilization. So some of our coaches has gone as far as tracking how many days a unit trains. And I think that is very telling, right? So on a given month, and I've said this before, on a given month, you got about 20 days to train. We go down to 18 because there's a Donza in there. And then there's probably going to be like a late call somewhere, maybe 2. So now you're down to like 16 days of training. And we found that within those 16 available days, sometimes they're only training 8 of those days. So you're way under like even 50% of the days available to train. So we can't move the needle, as even if our training is really, really solid, can't move the needle. So I do agree with that compliance number. It's just, we have to have an agreement as to like, how do we track that?
Well, I think it's kind of where my head's at with data is, for years now, we've thought of data as like a tool that we use to justify our existence. And I think that that's fair, because we've gotten a lot of heat from different folks at different times about, oh, H2F might go away or blah, 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 blah. But I think what's more important is figuring out the metrics that you can use to deploy your team. And I think that's where compliance becomes one. There's crossover certainly in some of these, but like, which of your companies or squadrons or whatever is utilizing your team the most? We talk about the PT scores, who has the lowest, and who's engaging with the cognitive team. You know, the list could be endless, but the metrics need to drive decision making for how you can kind of triage your whole organization and then deploy the resources you have, because we're all undermanned, we're all under resourced.
Yeah.
But I think we're still trying to like put a blanket over the whole enterprise, you know, one coach for 4,000 soldiers or whatever. If you can figure out some metrics that actually will help you to determine, hey, we need to go see those guys today instead of those guys, then you're probably moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've crossed the 1 hour mark. Pretty sure
We do that too a lot. It's fine.
Yeah. So,
we're not worried about it, but
well, I'm not worried about it. You talked about being undermanned, and a lot of that isn't because there wasn't staffing. It's because the changes in the
People got cut.
structure. Yeah, the changes in our structure, right? Which has also kind of handed us like this. My team is getting cut. My team is restructuring. I'm essentially starting all over again because I got to reorganize how I'm going to apply it. But let's take a softer tone with it and a easy softball. What would the ideal like HP team look like?
ChatGPT.
So let's hold on for a second. You said let's take a softer tone with it. I'm gonna take a substantially more aggressive tone with it for a second.
That's on brand. That's on brand.
And I'm gonna say, like, we got to address an elephant in the room. I don't know if we've talked about it on our podcast much. I've talked about it behind closed doors. What we try to do is bring behind closed doors conversation into the light. The rank hypocrisy of messaging how effective H2F has been and how we need to get it to the whole force, and this is the most amazing thing ever, and look at all these results, and then also cutting the teams, ridiculous. Like, on its face, absurd, insulting to the professionals involved. Like, it makes you know that somewhere in it, one side or the other, somebody's not telling you the whole truth.
And we're trying to find, I don't know if we're doing it consciously or subconsciously, we're trying to find the people that make those decisions. Like, I would love to, we got into a little bit of trouble with the contracting episode because we sort of asked some of those questions, but it's like somebody somewhere is looking at data. Keep talking about data. Oh, this shit's working. let's cut half of them and see what happens. Like,
Yeah, right. Let's
somebody,
see if it's still working.
there's a human that's doing that, and I would love to just talk to get their side, but I mean, the search continues.
Yeah, they're trying to find that minimum effective dose, right? So if we have 10 straight coaches per brigade and it's working, let's see how 5 do. That
Well,
does a little bit worse. Let's see how 7 do.
If we're supposed to believe the public messaging, it saves more than it costs. So if it saves more than it costs, I'm not interested in minimum effective dose. I'm interested in like effective scalability.
Reinvest our
Yeah,
savings.
no. So that reminds me of, and then to rewind all the way back to the LinkedIn comment,
Jesus,
talking about. So a dude posted this infographic where, average time deadline to not being able to fly was reduced by X amount of days, and 1 day of flying costs the whatever the Navy $160,000 or something. So we're saving the Navy, $380,000 per sailor per whatever per month. I'm like, that's a wazoo thing to say. So I messaged that guy. I'm like, where'd you get those numbers from? And he's like, oh man, it's a contract. I can't really talk about it.
Chat GPT.
I'm like, you made that up, but whatever.
I think
I've done that math before.
Dollar amount, putting a dollar amount on it is important, and that would probably get the attention of people up at those higher echelons.
You do have to communicate in dollars at a certain echelon.
Yes. I've made those absurd connections before.
Is the way that you made that connection like wazoo, or is that valid, or does it even matter? Are we just trying to justify existence at that point? Because if I save we had a particular case where a dude completely destroyed his knee, like ACL, MCL, LCL, and posterior lateral corner, horrific injury, facing med board. No, not you. You're not in the military, and you were already an athlete, right? But anyway, dude is facing med board, and they're like, hey, this is a Air Force special operator. I've invested however many millions of dollars into training this guy, and we're about to just kick him out of the military because he can't do X, Y, and Z. And within 9 months post surgery, this guy's passing a operator fitness test, and high compliance with PT, high compliance with strength and conditioning, doing all the things. Like, that dude put his head down and did the work because he got kind of threatened with that med board. But hey, we just saved this guy's entire career. What does that cost you long term? Like, now I don't have to train his replacement or whatever. Can I boil that down into dollars and deliver that to somebody who's gonna?
And they have dollars for some of those things. The Army, I don't know how often they update it. The last time I knew the number was like 3-4 years ago, but they know the dollar cost of recruiting and training a brand new soldier. Like, how much does it cost to recruit him? How much does it cost to get him to basic training? How much does it cost to get him through basic training? How much does it cost to get him to AIT, through AIT, to their unit? They know that number. It's depending on MOS, it floats in like the 40 to 75K for like a conventional, how fast can we produce a soldier? And obviously for special operations, that number gets higher. For aviators, that number gets higher. So like that stuff actually does, like, in a dramatic way, matter. And it's worth reminding practitioners in the space, because sometimes it's hard to know whether you're making a difference. But like, each practitioner probably can like recall a couple cases kind of like that one. You don't have to have that many cases like that per year to save more than you cost, right? That's a difference.
That's why the athletic trainer thing was fucking obnoxious. I'm sorry. It's unfiltered.
I know you guys are going to talk about it. Hold on. I know that they're going to talk about it, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, the article. That's what I was going to talk about.
Sorry.
Which article?
The MTI article.
Oh, God.
I think there have been a few articles.
We can talk about it. Yeah, we're accumulating. We have a little kind of...
Yeah, because there was the MTI article. There was an AUSA article. There have been a few. Since we're already over the hour mark, I don't think we have time to really dive into it here. I think...
Says the guy in Central Standard Time.
Yeah, right. I'm like, dude, you guys.
No, he's mountain.
Whatever.
Here's my answer. I promise we will like dedicate a whole podcast to discussing that kind of issue.
Yeah.
Did y'all I just think.
Did you guys read that article?
I have read that article.
Yes, I actually, and I mentioned this on our Discord. Shameless plug. We have a Discord. Because I've worked with Rob Shaw before. I actually, when I was very, very early on as a strength coach, I had reached out to him because at the time, like pre-embedded human performance, military athlete, which now is Mountain Tactical, like that was the brand.
Yeah.
And actually, I was talking to one of my coaches the other day. I don't know if they still do this, but some of the special forces groups were sending out their like his prep programs if you wanted to assess
Oh, they
for
still
select.
do. They
Yeah.
still do. Well, at least as recently as 2021 now. So I guess it's been a while.
So like
recently as 2021 they do.
So when I was getting started with AFSOC, me and maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 other folks from different areas of kind of his world, we all actually went to his ranch in Jackson Hole and did he called it a scrum. But point being, I got to know him pretty well. And I can understand, I think, his points if I like make myself, because some of the biases that he's experienced as the guy who has kind of watched this thing from the very beginning. But we kind of talked about it again on our Discord, and we'll do a full episode on it. But I just think that the articles written by folks on the outside just completely miss the mark in terms of what they're talking about. And they'll probably disagree with me, and that's fine. But yeah, no, I read it at like 6 a.m. the other weekend on vacation and immediately pulled up the computer to just go at it on the little Discord page. I was like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You ever notice, like every few months an article comes out that says like H2F sucks, it's going to fail. And you ever notice how none of those articles are written by someone who has like attempted to work with a human performance staff at all?
Or even know what an athletic trainer is by reading his article.
Yeah. Well, and they all seem to be from physical fitness minded folks who think that is the only thing. And I think if you compare H2F physical fitness to like MTI as an example, a very thorough online platform that he has complete control over his product and can make whatever he wants, we probably fall short. But when you look at the entire like comprehensive program, it's a very different offering than what in that article, what kind of he was attacking. It's not just about the physical fitness. And what really bugged me was, I forget if it was like 3, 4, 5 bullet points, but it was like, why do you need to have all these specialties when really what it boils down to is just eat healthy? It's like, well, no shit, dumbass. If it was that easy, none of us would be here, including you. Like, hey, just work out more. Thanks, asshole. So anyway, before I get too heated, like
to circle back,
that was my big thing was like the mental health aspect. Is like, cool, I'm going to tell this guy who is vital.
Yeah.
Hey, probably fix your diet and work out, you know.
Hey, dude, just work out more.
I'm going to go later and then, you know.
Well,
whatever.
Like it also brings you back to the buy-in thing. Because like
bleep that out.
MTI.
Is this kid friendly? Sorry.
We've been cursing a little bit already. But MTI, everybody training on an MTI program either got it as like a PDF or is paying for it, right? Like every one of these private things, every single one of your athletes is paying you to do your program because they are bought in. Remember that buy-in term? And the lessons you learn in an environment where everybody is intrinsically motivated enough to give you their cash every month are not necessarily applicable to an environment where potentially a majority of people might not want to be there. Because it's just not the same.
It's like our conversation with Brian Carroll, same issue.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think, you know, one thing to round it out, just the last conversation we'll have, because we talked a lot about data, we talked a lot about the practitioners, and we started off the conversation today about talking about the reason you all started the podcast or the IG was we weren't doing a good job of getting human performance information to the military member. And recently, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it, I've really had this epiphany of like, are we as practitioners doing a bad job of presenting how effective we are because we are so sold on trying to present tables and graphs to a population who may not have the data literacy that we expect? And because of that, we are speaking Chinese and Russian to each other. Well, no, maybe they might actually not understand each other. Like Russian.
Yeah, we need more marketing. We need more advertising. Right. Yeah, we need like like sexy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a little recruitment video or something.
No, we need some influencers. We need some GS influencers.
There you go.
You have an Instagram already, bro.
Before we go, I know you said it's like last conversation you want to have. You had a question when you texted us like the things to talk about. You had one more in there that I was hoping you would ask.
Is this a sergeant major of the army?
SMA?
Oh, yeah. No, that's it.
That's an Alex thing. Alex is on a crusade.
The crusade.
I agree with Alex, man.
I think everybody does, except for SMA.
Rules for me and not for the.
Not everyone agrees with me. That much is clear from the comment section. There are plenty of people who think he should get to do whatever he wants and like rank has its privileges or whatever. I don't know. But what I will say is, I think in their text you described it like why the crusade against SMA, and I think this will be potentially illustrative. How many times have I posted about the SMA issue?
Once or twice, maybe.
Once or twice.
Twice now. Yeah. So like we're calling it a crusade. Like, what about my crusade about fiber? I posted about fiber a bunch. Nobody asked me why the crusade.
I think
about
you
fiber.
posted that on your story. Like the SMA thing got so much more engagement than other things.
That's exactly right. Nobody gives a shit about my crusade for fiber.
They want the inflammatory.
I post 2 times about the SMA. Everybody's
just
heard
like looking at pictures of dudes in shorts, man.
To put numbers to it.
It pisses me off because it's like the problem with the NCO Corps, right? Like, you know, you see a bunch of E4 and below mopping and sweeping an area and a bunch of E5s and E6s standing around smoking and joking. Like, you got a problem with your culture, you know?
It's a tough one. And I think the SMA is in a tough environment to like, honestly, like this one seems simple. Like, you're the sergeant major of the Army, you're the standard discipline guy, wear the uniform. That shouldn't be that hard. But what I will tell you is that post of the SMA where I like quoted his stuff about wearing shorts, which is the dumbest thing in the world. And I honestly, I made that post while we were watching Great British Bake Off. Like, I wasn't working hard on it.
Dude, it was new season just started.
Yeah.
It's fire.
But
awesome.
For my
Love
Instagram, it's the most engagement of any post I posted in the last month. My Instagram page overall is up 30% on engagement for the last couple weeks compared to the weeks before that. My Facebook page, which nobody really realizes there's a Facebook page, I don't go look at it. It automatically posts from the Instagram over there. But I looked at the dashboard. My Facebook engagement is up 4,000% because of that post alone.
But what is LinkedIn doing?
That's not posted on LinkedIn. We'll get there. I try to maintain like some degree of professionalism on LinkedIn, but the actual answer, because I've been talking around your question of like why go after this topic, who cares? If we're being honest, my reason to go after it is because there are so many pictures of Army senior leaders wearing Apex Path t-shirts running around for public appearances, rather than talking about H2F or what their role in it is, or wearing the H2F brand or anything like that. I may be crossing a line here, who knows? But like I texted the H2F people at the H2F headquarters and I said, hey, listen, like, you tell us like sizes and numbers or like give us stuff, like Mops and Mo's will pay for a bunch of H2F t-shirts that you can hand out to Army senior leaders so they can wear that brand. It doesn't even need to have Mops and Mo's on it. Don't tell anybody we covered it. But like
we will do that.
Some of our money, we will donate stuff to get Army senior leaders to wear the Army's program as their brand, rather than some outside company that's directly undermining it in a lot of cases. That's my real reason that I have frustration. It's not
about the shorts,
SMA.
guys.
It's also the Secretary of the Army. But like all these folks have Apex shirts and wear them and like show them off, and like the best squad competition event that happened at the Army birthday, everybody's wearing Apex branded stuff. I'm like, what happened to like this program that we say is great and is making such a difference? That's what pisses me off.
It's great on paper, you know. In the D1 setting, if you're like an Under Armour school and you come in wearing a bunch of Jordan stuff, somebody's going to make you take all that stuff off. Get out of the weight room right now, because Under Armour pays us a whole bunch of money. And in this case, it's even reverse. It's like they pay H2F a whole bunch of money. They need to be representing, like you said, for what they're putting money into.
Anyway.
So now you got me thinking about those things. But I do want to circle back, because when you guys had
I was
me
going to
on,
say, you never answered we never asked your question.
what question?
The one before the question about
what does the ideal HP team look like? Is that the question, Drew?
Oh, no, that was way back.
Yeah, but I want to go into, oh man,
sorry, I took you off. Keep going. Keep going.
All right, go where you're going.
I do want to ask Alex specifically now, have you changed your thought process on, you had me on your podcast and we talked a lot about leadership and we talked a lot about the face of who should be leading PRT. And I have a lot of biases on that, mainly because, well, two things. I am a coach, but secondly, I come from a branch that I think does a really good job of teaching leadership early on. And so that's one thing, the two things.
He
But
was a Marine, everybody listening.
um,
He still is a Marine. There are only former Marines. There's no ex-Marines.
do you still hold that thing? Like, because we've gone through different. I mean, we've trained probably over like 400 soldiers at this point, our team, and what we keep coming back to is like the level of responsibility in writing a program, executing a program, knowing the sets and reps, knowing the X's and O's, knowing how to organize the workout because you thought 20 people were showing up and 60 people showed up. And now you're like, right. And then even the simple thing of like the NCO that's leading it is the only one in charge, and all the other NCOs have just relegated their duties to just being one of the Joes. Um, and then we start seeing it, and this is anecdotal, maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but then you start seeing it in simple things with like accountability or like things that are base level leadership, right? So have you had any changes in like heart in terms of like, and maybe we should have these practitioners out a little bit more?
I
I have.
I'll say I have had a little bit of a change of heart, but not like to a conclusive answer because I don't think anybody's cracked the code on this one. I will acknowledge I had a moment at work like a couple months ago. Um, my team only has like one dedicated strength coach. We're a much smaller team serving a dispersed population. He was out, an NCO that he had trained and like gone over what the workout was supposed to be, was supposed to lead a workout for this unit for like the first time. Um, and like poor guy nearly heat catted during the warm up, and I just had to like step in and coach the session, and it was like kind of a disaster. And like during one of the warm up exercises, he picked like a little bit of a weird exercise, and one of the people who's like senior to him in rank is like, "What's the point of this? Like this is weird." And he's like, "Oh, coach told me it was good." Like just like the ownership wasn't there, the literacy wasn't there, the being able to sell it wasn't there. It was really frustrating. And so I do think like more exposure to seeing it done professionally is important. Um, I think clearly we don't have like a conclusive answer on like where that relationship is. I will suggest, and this is going to tie into my previous one, a really good person to be leading a conversation about the appropriate relationship between a coach and an NCO might be the Army's senior most NCO who's grown up in units with coaches. So like whatever, like nobody's gonna like see this as me laying down a gauntlet, but I did send an invite to Sergeant Major Weimer's public affairs officer and saying like we would like to have him on the podcast to clarify some of this stuff. No response yet. We'll see what happens. But like I do think we need to do a better job of clarifying like the coach NCO relationship in this whole thing. I don't think we've come to a clean answer on that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's an acceptable answer.
We accept that.
I think, I know you didn't ask me, but as he was talking, I was thinking about it because we have heard this now regurgitated to us so many times that PT is for NCOs to develop leadership. But it's like, okay, how many of you guys are actually using PT to develop leadership? Because I watch PT happen every morning and it's typically a clusterfuck. There are some really good ones who are developing leaders. And I think to answer your question, in those cases, let the NCO do it. But if you guys are just doing a deck of cards workout because you refuse to work with a strength coach, don't tell me that you're developing leadership. You're just wasting everyone's time. So I say this because like I said, we get this question a lot. We always think of it as a binary. Should it be the coaches? Should it be the NCOs? I think it varies. But before you take a stand, like take a good, hard, self-critical look at, is your PT actually developing leadership? Or are you just telling me that because someone told you that and then someone told them that? It's the path dependency piece that I think it's really annoying.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that what we're doing now is we are on the path to saying we had a little bit more structure to what a program looks like, and a lot of coaches will argue with me that we shouldn't be telling them how to run the program, but I would argue that we do, especially if we expect them to go do it out by themselves. So the Marine Corps, in the Marine Corps martial arts program, before there was the physical fitness side, we used to have a structure called WOD, or I'm sorry, a WEF, warm up exercise flexibility. right? And so it was just a broad structure of like, you must warm up, you must exercise, you must do flexibility. And then within that were characteristics that you want to drop into it. We're trying to do something similar where it's like a plug and play, as opposed to go write your own program and let's hope something happens. But
I don't want to
I think
forget this.
big.
So real fast, Drew, and I don't know if we're crossing lines between like work and personal capacities here,
I'm
but
wearing a work shirt. So
I feel like it was your brigade that collected a bunch of data on injuries during PT sessions led by coaches versus injuries during PT sessions led by NCOs.
mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the results at all?
The coaches were a lot less likely to injure you.
yeah, we have the same data. We've done the same thing.
I know. It's like, holy shit.
Who would think?
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to just a bigger on the education piece too, you know. And I run into that. I don't have a population big enough to have to that necessitates extenders or any of that kind of craziness, right? So I'm lucky in that aspect, but it also just comes down to like execution of the programmed workout, like maybe explain to the population why we're doing intensive plyometric exercise, because some people, this might be a waste of time before I get into my resistance training or my interval run or whatever the case may be. And it's like, no, we're doing this to develop XYZ characteristics, blah, 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 blah. And you are wasting everybody's time if you come here and do a half-ass broad jump. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the intent is for you to broad jump as hard as you can right now for these allotted amount of reps, right? And that's why we're doing intensive plyometrics, or why are we doing like a low speed, you know, kind of fluid change of direction drill where I'm going from like a sprint to a back pedal to a side shuffle across whatever yards. And I'm like, okay, well, this is because of X, Y, and Z. So you need to execute it at the intensity that I'm telling you to, because you're developing these characteristics. And if you just half-ass it and do it lazy, you're not getting anything out of it. Like imagine everybody likes to bench press. I'm going into the gym and I'm bench pressing 135 every day for 5 sets of 5. I'm never going to bench press 400 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to have that intent behind it and know, hey, I'm trying to bench press 400 pounds one day. So I'm going, hey, 135 for 5. Next week, I'm going to go 145. Then I'm going to go 160. You know, I'm going to have that end goal in mind. So if I give them an end goal and tell them what we're working on, then maybe I get more effort out of it. And sometimes it works. Sometimes people still don't care. But, you know, that's the struggle.
All right. With that, we'll bring it to a close. We appreciate you guys. Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on. It was awesome. I'll probably 2-part this. It's probably a little long for
we talk too much on our own podcast, so it's no surprise.
It's good. It's good to have no like dead space or awkwardness too. You guys are to say, you know? So how you guys feel?
You guys want to plug? Oh my God. You guys want to drop any plugs in? I mean,
mopsandmos.com, mopsandmos on Instagram,
Mops and Mos on Discord, Mops and Mos on Facebook.
Yeah,
we have a Facebook.
Don't plug the Facebook. Don't go to the Facebook.
If
Facebook it's a silly place. It's where people fight with each other in the comments. Don't go there. It's not productive.
I'm going straight to now, dude.
If you're a senior leader and you want a free H2F shirt, reach out.
I will state right now, like if you are like sergeant major or above, colonel or above, like
should we say public facing figures? That's
like public
GO.
figure, Army senior leader. Like I will buy you an H2F shirt to wear instead of your Apex shirt.
If we can get like Donald Trump in one, it'd be
it will not say Mops and Mos on it. It will not have any of our stuff. I will just like get the H2F logo. I'll slap it on it. Like, boom.
Done.
Nice. Yeah. You guys gave me yogurt flashbacks. Merchandising.
There you go.
All right. For everybody else, if you're liking what you're listening to, please subscribe and like to Coaches AAR. Give us a rating. That'd be awesome. We have a few. We're still at 5 stars. That means we haven't.
And reviews on Apple. People used to give us reviews all the time on Apple, like actual say something. We haven't gotten one of those in a long time. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, drop a review.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate you guys being here. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time.
Hey, Alex, let's cover our ass real quick.
Oh, great idea, Drew. All right, guys. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Before you go, please rate and review the pod on the listening platform of your choice. You can also visit us on our website at www.mopsinmos.com. That's mops, the letter N, mos.com. You can check out the library of podcast episodes, our latest blog entries, any helpful resources, and also sign up for our newsletter.
Drew nailed it. Just to underline a couple of things, the podcast entries have in-depth show notes on the website. So if you missed anything or you want to read any of the research we talk about, it is all there. You can, at the bottom of the website, sign up with your email and receive future updates from us. The blog posts go a little bit more in depth in kind of written form on a couple of topics we get questions about all the time. But most importantly, I just want to ask all you guys, our best way the word gets out is absolutely word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell the people you work with, anybody you think would find it useful. Thanks for spreading the word.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to shoot us an email at either Drew or Alex at mopsinmos.com.
Or there's a contact form on the website.
Thank you.